students, welcome to the series of JEE Mains. Question number 1. At 35 degrees centigrade, the vapor pressure of carbon disulfide CS2 is 512 mmHg and that of acetone is 344 mmHg. A solution of this is CS2 one solution, there is another solution is acetone. These two are solutions. Yes, a solution of CS2 in acetone, a solution of CS2 in acetone has a total vapor pressure of 600 mmHg. The false statement among the following is, the false statement amongst the following is, dear students, the keyword they are asking false statement. Yes, so care must be taken while answering this type of answers. Yes, so they are asking which is false statement among these four statements. Let us see. Heat must be absorbed in order to produce the solution at 35 degrees centigrade. It is known that, for example, what they are doing 600 mmHg. So whatever may be the concentration of CS2 or acetone, or the ratio of acetone and CS2, it is going to be 512 by 2 and 344 by 2. Yes, so what is going to be right, students? So it is not going to beyond 600 mmHg, right? So is it correct or not? Heat must be absorbed. Yes, it must be absorbed because it is showing 600 mmHg. That means if I take suppose 512, it is comes to be 262, right? 256, and this is 122. So 122, 260, 256 is not going to be 600. That means it is endothermic and heat must be absorbed in order to produce the solution at 35 degrees centigrade. So it is correct statement, but they are asking false statement. A mixture of 100 ml of CS2 and 100 ml acetone has a volume less than 200 ml. No, students, this is when you are mixing these 100 ml and 100 ml acetone. So what is going to happen? 100, it must be 200 or greater than 200 because it is going to absorb heat and the pressure is going to be 600 mmHg, means it is endothermic and it is going to have minimum 200 ml or more than 200 ml. That means it is a wrong statement. It is a wrong statement and it is going to be our answer. Let us see other options. CS2 and acetone are less attracted to each other than to themselves. This is not relevant. Yes, CS2 and acetone are less attracted to each other than to themselves. Of course, yes, since both are organic compounds. Yes. Raoult's law is not obeyed by this system. What is Raoult's law? The partial pressure of each component of an ideal mixture of liquids is equal to the vapor pressure of the pure component multiplied by its mole fraction in the mixture is Raoult's law. So it is not obeyed. Yes, it is not obeyed, but they are asking false statement. The false statement is 2. Answer 2. Option number 2 is correct. They are asking false statement, so the option number 2 is a false statement. Next question number 2. Yes, students, it is from organic chemistry and it is very straight away they are asking. Yes, 1-methyl ethylene oxide when treated with an excess HBr produces. What is 1-methyl ethylene oxide? Yes, so 1-methyl ethylene oxide, this is nothing but 1-methyl ethylene oxide. Let us draw 1-methyl ethylene oxide. This is ethylene oxide. This is ethylene oxide and 1-methyl. They are saying 1-methyl. This is 1-methyl, right? So this is, I can write CS3 here. 1-methyl methylene oxide. So what they are adding? HBr, excess HBr, right? So HBr is nothing but H plus and Br minus. What happens? This reaction? Yes. First step, this H plus is taken up by this epoxide. This is known as epoxide. So it is going to have, right? So this epoxide is going to have partial positive charge. This is going to take H plus here and this ring will open. Which side it will open? This is very important. Yes. So how to open? Towards which side it is going to open? Right. So this epoxide, if it opens towards this side, it is going to form positive charge at this carbon. What is this carbon? This is a secondary carbon. And if it opens towards this side, and it is going to form positive charge at this carbon. This is a primary carbon. We know that secondary carbocations is more stable than primary carbocation. That means the intermediate is going to form secondary carbocation. This secondary carbocation will take this bromine, right? So we'll take this bromine to give 2-bromo alcohol, right? So this alcohol with reacting with excess HBr is going to give OH is going to form Br. That means 1,2-dibromopropane. 1,2-dibromopropane. Which is showing 1,2-dibromopropane? Yes, 1,2-dibromopropane. That means option number 3 is correct option, students. So 1,2-dibromopropane is correct option. Yes, students. Right. Next what? 1,2-dibromopropane it is going to form. Right. Next. Consider the following reaction. They have given N,N-dimethyl aniline and diazonium chloride of para-sodium sulfonic acid. Right. So these are the two compounds they have given, and they are going to react in presence of base. It is going to give X. They are saying it is going to give X compound. The product X is used, right, students? So it is going to form some X compound. We don't know the X compound, not given here, but that compound is going to be used to or in protein estimation as an alternative to ninhydrin. Ninhydrin is used for, yes, to detect the proteins, presence of proteins in laboratory test for phenols. Is it correct? Let us see other examples. As food grade colorant, no, is it going to be food grade colorant? It is sodium sulfonic acid. It is a poisonous compound and it is diazonium salt. Yes, so it is not going to be used as colorant in acid base titration as an indicator. So they are directly or indirectly asking the indicator which is going to be formed by reacting with N,N-dimethyl aniline reacting with diazonium chloride of para-sodium sulfonic acid of phenyl paratoluene sodium sulfonic acid of diazonium chloride upon reacting with N,N-dimethyl aniline in presence of base is going to form what? Methyl orange. This is methyl orange, and this methyl orange is going to be used as an indicator for acid base titration. So option number 4 is correct option. So how it is going to form? This is N,N-dimethyl. So this diazonium chloride is going to react. This diazonium chloride is going to react so with this para position of here, and it is going to form like this compound. Right, students? So N,N-dimethyl is not going to be disturbed, and this salt is not going to be disturbed, and this is methyl orange, and we are going to get orange color in presence of base. Right? So this is in base, it is going to show orange color. That is why it is known as methyl orange. Right, students? So the option number 4 is correct option, students. Option number 4, in acid base titration as an indicator it is used. Right? Next, a solution of metachloroaniline, metachlorophenol and metachlorobenzoic acid. So they have given 3 compounds. What are they? Metachloroaniline, metachlorophenol and metachlorobenzoic acid in ethyl acetate. Ethyl acetate is a solvent, was extracted initially with a saturated solution of sodium bicarbonate. Sodium bicarbonate is a weak base to give fraction A. So there is a fraction A. The leftover organic phase was extracted with dilute NaOH. It is strong base NaOH solution to give fraction B. So they have separated fraction B. The final organic layer was labeled as fraction C. So what are the fractions A, B and C contain respectively? So what are the compound? Let us draw the structures. If you know the structures, it is very easy to answer this question. What are the compounds? So first compound is metachloroaniline. Metachloroaniline. So chloro is constant in all three compounds. Metachloroaniline. So meta means here, ortho meta, aniline, right? So metachloroaniline, there is one compound. Yes, it is nice. Then metachlorophenol. So before going further, what is metachloroaniline? Is it acid or base? Yes, it is a base, right? It is a base. And what about this phenol? Metachlorophenol, is it acid or base? Weak acid. Phenols are weakly acidic. Phenols are weakly acidic, means they are soluble in strong bases but insoluble in weak bases. Metachlorophenol and metachlorobenzoic acid, that name itself says it is an acid. Benzoic acid. Benzoic acid is easily soluble in all bases, basic solutions, even strong or weak bases. So this benzoic acid is soluble in all basic solutions or bases, organic or inorganic bases. This is benzoic acid, metachlorobenzoic acid. So these are the three compounds where these three are different with respect to their acidity and basicity. It is metachlorobenzoic acid and it is acidic in nature. Metachlorophenol is weakly acidic. Metachloroaniline is a basic compound or it is a base, right? So these are the three compounds. It is very simple, and all these three organic compounds are soluble in ethyl acetate solution. So they are asking how will you separate these three compounds. Suppose I have given these three compounds mixture to you, how will you separate? It is very simple, students. So just wash with sodium bicarbonate solution. Sodium bicarbonate, it is a weak base. Sodium bicarbonate is a weak base which is going to be soluble. Sodium bicarbonate solution which is going to be soluble, since it is a weak base, it dissolves or it makes salt with benzoic acid, metachlorobenzoic acid. That means fraction A, yes, sodium bicarbonate solution will have this metachlorobenzoic acid. Fraction A is metachlorobenzoic acid, right? So where is metachlorobenzoic acid? Yes, this is one and this is one. They have given first fraction A is two options, 1 and 2. Let us see next one. Next, what they have treated, and they kept this base solution, fraction A is left over, and in ethyl acetate there will be these two compounds left over in ethyl acetate. Now they have added sodium hydroxide. Sodium hydroxide is a strong base, though they have given dilute in here. Dilute, to confuse you while answering this kind of questions, they have given dilute. No problem whether it is dilute or concentrated, doesn't matter. Since sodium hydroxide is a strong base, it is going to dissolve or make salt of this phenol. So when you add NaOH, it is going to get salt of phenolic compounds. Phenols are going to come with NaOH solution. So fraction B consists of what? Phenol, right? So fraction B is going to consist of phenol and leftover is aniline. That means, so the fraction A is metachlorobenzoic acid, next is metachlorophenol, and metachloroaniline is fraction C. Option 2 is correct option, students, right? So this is a common phenomena or common practice in synthetic organic chemistry labs, where if you get mixture of these kind of mixtures, it is very easy to separate. Just take all these compounds, or all these compounds are in a solution of ethyl acetate, it is a solution, and it forms layer with aqueous solution. They have taken sodium bicarbonate aqueous solution and they have extracted with sodium bicarbonate solution, and that extract to fraction A is going to consist of this metachlorobenzoic acid. Next, leftover solution of ethyl acetate will be washed or extracted with NaOH solution, so that the phenol is going to be extracted into NaOH solution, right, students? To get back this acid and phenol, what they will do? They will add some acid like HCl or simple acid, so that they will get benzoic acid and phenol back. So this is how they will separate these kind of organic compounds. This is one of the ways to separate all these fractions or compounds. Yes, students? Yes. What is the answer? Option number 2 is correct option, students. Right. Next. Yes, this is direct question and easiest question based on your theory. The purest form of commercial iron is, yes. What is the answer? Wrought iron. Yes, wrought iron is the purest form of iron. It is commercially used to make all household or even Eiffel Tower also made with wrought iron. So it is a rust free iron. Right, students? So wrought iron is correct option. So the option number 1 is correct option, students. Next question number 6. Amongst the following statements, that which was not proposed by Dalton. What is Dalton's law? Yes, Dalton's law states that in a mixture of non-reacting gases, if you take two non-reacting gases, the total pressure exerted is equal to the sum of the partial pressures of the individual gases. That means if you take two gases which are non-reactive, and the total pressure is going to be equal to the sum of the partial pressures of the individual gases. If you take 100 partial pressure of one gas and 100 of another gas, it is going to be equal to the total pressure exerted is equal to the sum of the partial pressures of the individual gases. So it is sum. It will be added pressure will be added. Right. Amongst the following statements, that which was not proposed by Dalton was all the atoms. So it is very, very important, students. They are asking not proposed. This is keyword. So while answering this kind of questions, care must be taken. They are asking not proposed. All the atoms of a given element have identical properties, including identical mass. Atoms of different elements differ in mass. Yes, this is correct statement. So it is not going to be our answer. Next, matter consists of individual atoms. It is a very basic. Individual atoms are invisible atoms. So this is also basic answer. It is a correct statement. When gases combine or reproduced in a chemical reaction, they do so in a simple ratio by volume, provided all gases are at the same temperature and pressure. So it is as per Dalton's law. It was not proposed by Dalton. Dalton was not proposed this. Right? Yes. So option number 3 is going to be our correct option. Chemical reactions involve reorganization of atoms. These are neither created nor destroyed in a chemical reaction. It's a basic thing. Yes. So you may confuse and answer this option number 4, but this is not the correct option. They are asking not proposed. So option number 3 is correct option, students. Next, yes, it is very, very simple question, and based on your periodic table knowledge, the atomic radius of silver is closest to, right? So what is the silver atomic number? 47, right? So let us write silver 47, or silver is here, and we know coinage metals are, what are the coinage metals? Copper, yes, copper, silver and aurum. So they have given these three, silver and aurum. And what else they have given? Nickel they have given. Nickel is going to be here, right? So nickel is 28, copper is 29, and silver 47, and aurum is 79. Sorry, there is no G. Aurum is 79. Then what else they have given? Mercury. Mercury is after aurum, it is going to be mercury, right? So mercury is 80. So the question is atomic radius. We know that the atomic radius when moving from top to bottom in a period, it is going to increase. For example, at the starting, if it is this size, it is going to be increase in size. Radius, atomic radius is going to be increased, right? And when you move from left to right in period, it is going to decrease. Yes. So they are asking what is the closest atomic size with respect to silver and aurum. So if I take this if I can compare this silver with copper and nickel is going to be nearer to this silver? No. But Rm, let us see, because this Rm period is going to have lanthanide contraction. Because of that it is going to be very near to nearest radius, that is 1.44. Silver and Rm are very close with respect to atomic radius 1.44. So the option is Rm, that is Rm is option number 1 is correct option. The atomic radius of silver is closest to Rm is correct option, students. So to answer this kind of questions you must know the atomic radius trend with respect to period and group, right students? So when you move from top to bottom it is going to increase, when you move from left to right it is going to decrease. But however, so when it comes to lanthanide contraction, because of this phenomena the silver and Rm is going to show a nearest or same atomic radius of 1.44. So the option number 1 is correct option, students. Next, the IUPAC name of the complex platinum amine chlorido amine methyl, right? Methanamine chloride. It is very simple to answer this kind of questions, right? So first we know this is platinum, right? Amine, this is chlorido, inside it should be chlorido and outside it is chloride. Yes, so it is anion, it is has to be written as chloride, right? So what is this? Amine, chlorido, methylamino. So what are the options? Diamine, yes, diamine, it is having diamine, methanamine, yes, methanamine, diamine is there, methanamine is there, chlorido and platinum 2 chloride. But this option number 1 seems to be correct, but we know that the nomenclature should follow alphabetical order, right? So amino is first, yes, so di is a di, it's di tri is not going to be considered for alphabetical order. So amine, right students? Amine, that is diamine, this is diamine, chlorido, after A it is chlorido, and this is methanamine, so alphabetical order diamine, chlorido, methanamine, and this is cation platinum. It is how many? Yes, what is the charge? +2, that is one chlorine here, another chlorine is there, +2 is written here, and at the last it is cation followed by anion should be written, right? So the correct nomenclature of this platinum complex is diamine, chlorido, methanamine, platinum 2 chloride. Option number 2 is correct option, students. Option number 2 is correct option, that is diamine, chlorido, methanamine, platinum 2 chloride is correct option, students. Next, question number 9. All these questions are directly asked this time. All JEE mains questions are seems to be very lot of theory based questions are an average students also can do these type of questions. Let us see. 9th question. The theory that can completely or properly explain the nature of bonding in nickel carbonyl complex. Here it should be CO capital. Yes, carbonyl complex. Yes, CO taken 4. Yes, tetracarbonyl complex. Yes, so the theory that can explain, what is the modern theory? Yes, molecular orbital theory. Straight away tick this option number 1. Molecular orbital theory is going to explain completely the properly explain the nature of bonding in nickel carbonyl. So valence bond theory, yes, it has some loopholes or drawbacks. Crystal field theory, yes, it is modern one, yes, but molecular orbital theory is going to explain all the properties of this bonding in nickel carbonyl complex. Crystal field theory, yes, Werner's valence bond, but when it comes to molecular orbital theory it is the correct option. Option number 1 is correct option, students. Next, match the following. This is also theory based question. What is there? They have given vitamins and they are asking what are the deficiency causes. So you may or may not remember, but you may know, all of you know that ascorbic acid is going to cause scurvy. Do you have any questions? scurvy. Ascorbic acid deficiency causes scurvy, right? So next, what else? Riboflavin, it is a B2. Riboflavin is also known as B2, and this causes, what it is going to cause? B2, vitamin B2, yes, riboflavin, it is going to cause chelosis. And thiamine, what is thiamine? Yes, thiamine is B1, it is going to cause beriberi. These are all known, and more or less it is from biology background, but these are all general general science questions, right? Pyridoxine, what is pyridoxine? Yes, vitamin. Yes, it is going to cause convulsions. Pyridoxine, it is going to cause convulsions. So what is the option matching with all these things? Riboflavin deficiency causes chelosis, thiamine causes deficiency causes beriberi, pyridoxine deficiency causes convulsions, ascorbic acid deficiency causes scurvy. So 1D, 1C, yes, 2 and 3 are 1C. Next, and 2A, yes, 2A, 1C and 2A. Option number 2 is going to be correct option, that is 3D. Yes, it is matching, and ascorbic acid 4 is going to match with scurvy. So 10th, option number 2 is correct option, students. Option number 2 is correct, students, right? Next, yes, it is also straight away theory based question, nothing to do with mathematics, or there is a direct question, theory based question. The dipole moments of CCl4, chloroform, CHCl3 and methane are in the order, right? So methane, CCl4 and chloroform. Yes, what is the dipole moment in CCl4? Since it is right, all chlorines are equal in, so what is the dipole moment in tetrachloride? Yes, so like this, if all these 4 atoms are chlorines, so equal movement will be there towards all 4 chlorines. That is how it is going to show equal dipole moment. That means it is the mu, dipole moment is shown in mu, and it is going to be 0. And methane also same, all are hydrogens 4, so this will also have 0. But since it is having here one, say if I write here hydrogen and here chlorine, so it is not going to be 0, that means it is not going to be 0, it must be above 0, that means above 0 positive charge. So the dipole moments are in the order, which is going to have more dipole moment? Chloroform. Whatever this CCl4 and CH4, both are 0 or more or less equal. So the option number 1 is correct option, students. Option number 1 is correct option, students. Here you may get, what are all these numbers? Dear students, you will get this kind of unique ID numbers in your exam. So I have taken same numbers to maintain the consistency, right? So this is how, don't worry about all these numbers, just concentrate on these IDs or option number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. So based on option number 1, 2, 3, 4, just straight away choose this, right? So these IDs are given to, while correcting your question papers or taking answers, your computer will take these ID numbers. Don't worry about these numbers, right? So option number 1 is correct option, students. Next, yes, this is also very straight away and simple mathematical based question. Given that the standard potential of copper 2+ to copper and copper plus to copper are 0.34 volts and 0.522 volts respectively, the standard the potential of copper 2+ to copper plus is, it is very simple, let us draw like this. So how it is going to work? It is very simple. They have given copper 2+, copper 2+ is going to give, directly they have given this, right? So copper 2+, they are going to give copper, what is the standard potential? Yes, it is copper 2+ to copper is 0.34, copper plus, right, copper 2+, via copper, it is going to give copper. So what is the copper plus to copper are 0.522. Copper plus to copper are 0.522. Oh, sorry. Copper plus to copper is 0.522. So they are asking what is the electron what is the standard potential of copper 2 plus to copper plus. So they are asking what is this value, right? So they have given copper 2 plus to copper and plus to copper. It is very simple, just take out this 0.522. So it is off of this, or take out this minus value, or take out this value from this 0.522 minus 0.344. It is going to give, what is the value? Yes, 0.158. 0.158. Yes, so 0.3. So 0.158 is correct option, students. Option number 2. So it is 0.68, right? So it is going to have 2 electrons like this. It is not straight away. You have to do like this, 0.34. Since 2 electrons are involved, 0.34 into 2, it is going to give 0.68. Then remove this 1 into 0.522. You are going to get 0.158. That means option number 2 is correct option, students. Option number 2, right? So option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, the electron gain enthalpy in kilojoules per mole of fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine respectively are. Yes, what is electron gain enthalpy? Theory based question. So electron gain enthalpy is the amount of energy released when an electron is added when an electron is added to an isolated gaseous atom, and it is inversely proportional to atomic radii, right? So it is inversely proportional to atomic radii. That means when you move from electron gain enthalpy becomes more negative in a period moving from left to right. So they have given a fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine like this, and we know that in a period, right? So in a period, if you move from left to right, it is going to give when electron gain enthalpy becomes more negative in a period, so it is going to be more, right, towards right side in a period. But in a group, while in a group moving from top to bottom, electron gain enthalpy becomes less negative, right, friends? So the negative value says, what is this negative value? Sign of negative denotes energy is released, exothermic reactions. So what is the option? So chlorine, fluorine and fluorine, chlorine, bromine and iodine, these are all from same group. It is going to have minus 33 followed by minus 349, minus 325 and minus 296. Option number 1 is correct option, students. Yes, option number 1 is correct option, students. Next, yes, this is very basic question from organic chemistry. Name reactions. So what is the product following a reaction? So they have taken X3-inol. Inol is aldehyde and ol is aldehyde. Ine is triple bond. Let us write the structure. 1, 1, 2, 3. So this is aldehyde, right? And this 3. 1, 2, 3. It is triple bond, right, students? So first step they are doing sodium borohydride. What is going to happen? This O carbonyl compound, yes, it is going to give CH2OH, right? CH2OH. First step it is going to give CH2OH, right? Next step what they are doing? PBr3. Alcohols will be converted into halides. This OH is going to converted into bromine, alkyl bromide. Is it going to disturb this triple bond? This is stable, friends, don't worry. So it is going to give OH to bromine. Then this alkyl bromide, when reacting with magnesium in presence of ether, it is going to form Grignard reagent. That means RMgBr, right? RMgBr. This RMGBr is going to react with carbon dioxide. What is carbon dioxide? Can I write like this? Yes, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide. So when you react carbon dioxide and RMGX, it is going to form, yes, it is RMGX is nothing but R minus and magnesium plus, and it is going to react with this carbon, and this oxygen is going to be shifted like this, and it is going to have O minus, and when you react this O minus with acid hydrolysis is going to form acid. This is the compound. This triple bond is not going to disturb, and you are increasing one carbon. You are increasing one carbon. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 1 carbon. It is newly coming from this carbon dioxide. So 1 carbon extension. This is the steps. These are the steps to be followed. If you have aldehyde and if you want to get one more carbon to in your compound, yes, make it into alcohol or convert into bromide or alkyl halide, and then make it into Grignard reagent, then react it with carbon dioxide. It is going to give 1 carbon extra, and it is going to be acid, right students? So the option number 2 is correct option, students. Option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, consider the following reactions. Yes, this is also theory but very very important organic concept. So what is that? Saint-Joff's rule. Which of these reactions will not produce Saint-Joff's product? What is Saint-Joff's product? In an elimination reaction, the alkene formed in greatest amount is the one that corresponds to removal of the hydrogen from the beta carbon having the fewest hydrogen substituents. For example, so this is a compound. For example, if you have this the compound and you are doing elimination reaction, reacting with KOH, right? KOH, it can take hydrogen. Yes, this OH will be eliminated and this positive charge will be replaced by this H plus or this H plus. The chance of this is say RRR or methyl. These two are methyls and this is also hydrogen. It can take this hydrogen and form. These are the two possibilities in this elimination reaction. One is this, another one is this, where you will get double bond. This is exocyclic or this double bond. So the major is going to be this. As per Saint-Joff's rule, during the elimination process, the hydrogen will be removed from the beta carbon having fewest hydrogen substituents. Fewest hydrogen substituents. So this is the compound you are going to get as major compound. So in all these reactions, which one is going to be formed major? So what is this? Yes, it is going to form, yes, tertiary carbon. Here it is going to have this tertiary one is here like this, tertiary and carbon, and here OH will be there, and this is methyl, right friends? So during sulfuric acid elimination, it is going to form H plus here, and it is going to be removed as water, and this positive charge will be rearranged with this, right? And then you are going to get like this compound. So it is also an internal double bond or Saint-Joff product. So the option number 1 is going to give Saint-Joff's product, but they are asking not produce, will not produce. Very very key important, this keyword not produce they are asking, right? KOH. So here also it is strong base, it is going to give internal double bond, that is Saint-Joff's products, whereas this weak base or this organic base is going to form this exocyclic or this primary double bond. Yes students, so this option number, so options are given here. So it is C, yes C, but C is not option 3. Option 1 says C only, C only. This is correct option, student. Option number 1, C only is correct option. That is, it is not going to give Saint-Joff product, it is going to give Hofmann product. Next, yes, basic strength, strength of base. It is very very simple if you know the concept. The increasing order of pKb for the following compounds will be basicity of organic compounds depends on mainly three factors. One is number of nitrogens, and hybridizations. sp3 is more basic than sp2, then sp, right, then sp. So this is another factor, sp, right. So the first factor is number of nitrogens, hybridization sp3 more basic, right, sp2 is more basic than sp, that means sp3 is more basic than sp2 then sp. And the third factor is steric hindrance, that means if the lone pair of electrons on nitrogen are sterically hindered, it is going to be less basic. These are the three factors, right. So what is pKb? They are asking increasing order. Increasing order means pKb values are inversely proportional to the basicity or basic strength of organic compounds. pKb is inversely proportional. If the pKb value is more, that compound is less basic. If the pKb value is more, the compound is less basic. So they are asking which is less basic or which pKb is going to be more. So it is very, very important. If you know the concept, it is easy to answer. Otherwise, you are going to give wrong answer. They are asking pKb increasing order. That means if the pKb value is more, it is going to be a weak basis, right. So based on our starting factors affecting basicity, which is having more nitrogens, so straight away this is 1, 2, 3. So this B is going to be more nitrogen. It is having 3 nitrogens, right. This is 2 nitrogens, right. This is 1 nitrogen. Based on first statement, straight away you can choose this option. So B is more basic, obviously it is going to have less pKb value, right. Next, based on number of nitrogens, 2, 3, 2, 1. So BCA, where BAC, where is the answer? BAC. This is BAC, right. So B is more basic and less pKb. 2 nitrogens, more basic, less pKb than 1 nitrogen containing dimethyl amine, right. So this is the correct option is BAC. Then what is next concept? So next concept is hybridization. So it is having sp3, yes, this is sp3 and sp2, and resonance also will have sp2 and sp3, right. So these three compounds, it is guanidine type, it is sp3, it is sp3, and it is sp, right. However, it may a conjugate acid, if this hydrogen may shift to here also, then also it is going to have here hydrogen will come and double bond will have here, that is guanidine type. Resonance may take place, still it is going to have sp3, sp and sp. So this compound is more basic than this is more basic than dimethylamine, right students. It is very straightforward question. C for nitrogens, number of nitrogens, then followed by hybridizations, right. So if the number is more, yes, and sp3 hybridization. So this is also having sp3, 2 sp3 nitrogens are there in compound B. So B is going to be more basic based on this, and number of nitrogens also more, that is 3 nitrogens are there. So the compound B is going to be the more basic. Then compound A, it is having 2 nitrogens and it is going to have 1 sp3 hybridized nitrogen, right, and another one is 1 sp2 hybridized nitrogen. That means B followed by A followed by C. Option number 4 is correct option, students. Option number 4 is correct option, students. Next, yes, this is also straightforward from your quantum numbers. The number of orbitals associated with quantum numbers. Yes, orbitals, what is the formula? Number of orbitals associated are equal to this principal quantum number n. If n is, orbitals are equal to n to the power of 2, So whatever the value they have given, 5 to the power of 2 or 5 square is nothing but 25. What about this spin quantum number? Doesn't matter. So all electrons will have plus of or minus of? It is going to have these 25 orbitals. Option number 1 is correct option, students. N square 5 square is going to have give 25. Yes, this is also straight away theory based question. What they are asking? Yes, the relative strength of interionic or intermolecular forces in decreasing order. So they are asking decreasing order. What is the interionic or intermolecular forces where they are going to be strong? Yes, ion relative strength, ionic bond strength is more. That means ionic strength is more. Yes, ion and ionic, only one option is going to give ion and ion is more strong. Yes, interionic interactions will be more in ion, between ion and ion, whereas dipole, these are weak intermolecular forces, and followed by this is ion dipole, these are also weak. That means ion is strong compared to ion dipole, then dipole. So the option number 2 is correct option, students. Option number 2, ion followed by ion dipole followed by dipole. Option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, so this is also theory based question. Question number 19. In comparison to the zeolites process for the removal of permanent hardness, the synthetic resin method is it less efficient as the resin cannot be regenerated, less efficient as it exchanges only anions? No, right? So which is correct option? Let us see. And more efficient as it can exchange only cations. They are comparing zeolite process with synthetic resins. They are asking which is more efficient. So synthetic resins are more efficient as it can exchange both cations as well as anions. Synthetic resins are more efficient than zeolites. So the option number 4 is correct option, students. Next question number 20. Oxidation number of potassium in K2O, right? Potassium oxide and potassium peroxide, potassium superoxide respectively is. Before going to answer this kind of questions, what is this? What is the group of potassium? Yes, first group element, S block, first group element. So all first group elements will have, what is the oxidation state? +1. The highest possible oxidation state of first group elements is +1. Irrespective of seeing all these structures, straight away this is also +1. They are straight away asking potassium oxidation state, potassium oxidation number. So here also 1, here also 1, all are 1 because this potassium is first group element. Yes, whereas this oxygen, yes, if they ask oxygen number, it is going to have different. What is the difference? Yes, it is going to have this potassium oxide is going to -2 and it is going to have -1 and it is going to have minus of 1/2, right? Superoxide. But they are asking oxidation number of potassium in all these three compounds. It is going to be 1 1 1. Option number 1 is correct option, students, right? So what is the structures? Let us see. It is similar to your water molecule. Yes, K2O, right? K2O. Okay. Potassium peroxide. Yes, hydrogen peroxide like structure. Okay. Potassium peroxide. Yes, hydrogen peroxide like structure. Hydrogen peroxide like structure. H2O2, K2O2. So if you know hydrogen peroxide structure, it is going to be same like hydrogen peroxide. And here also one potassium, right? So what about this potassium superoxide? Yes, it is going to have like this, where it is going to have here, what is the +1 here? Yes, this is also +1, and since it is having -2 and this is +1, this is also +1, so -1 and -1, and here superoxide going to be like this. So it will maintain partial bonding, only one potassium partial bonding with this oxygen and this oxygen, right? So it is also one partial. It will have minus of and minus of, and it is going to be +1, right? So here also 1, 1 1 1. What is the oxidation state of potassium in all these three compounds? It is straight away plus 1 1 1. So the option number 1 is correct option, students. Next. Right. So what about this potassium superoxide? Yes, it is going to have like this, where it is going to have here, what is the plus 1 here? Yes, this is also plus 1, and since it is having minus 2, and this is plus 1 plus 1, this is also plus 1, so minus 1 and minus 1, and here superoxide going to be like this. So it will maintain partial bonding, only one potassium partial bonding with this oxygen and this oxygen, right? So it is also one partial. It will have minus of and minus of, and it is going to be plus 1, right? So here also 1 1 1 1. What is the oxidation state of potassium in all these three compounds? It is straight away plus 1 1 1. So the option number 1 is correct option, students. Next. Two solutions. So it is, yes, more or less physical chemistry and molarity based question, or pH, from pH. Two solutions A and B, each of 100 liters, was made by dissolving 4 grams of NaOH and 9.8 grams of sulfuric acid in water respectively. These are the solutions, right? The pH of the resultant solution obtained from mixing 40 liters of solution A and 10 liters of solution B. So they are making 50 liters of solution, taking this solution A and B. What is the solution A? They have 100 liters made by dissolving 4 grams of NaOH. So what is the molecular weight of sodium hydroxide? 40. Weight by molecular weight. What is the weight? Yes, weight by molecular, 4 grams in molecular weight, and 100 liters, right, into 1000 by V. 1000 weight by molecular weight into 1000 by V. I am calculating molarity. 1000 by V. What is the V? 100 liters, not milliliters, 100 liters they are making. Okay, friends? Right. So these three are going to be cancelled, and right. So 40 and 4000, 4 by 4000, it is nothing but 1 by 1000, right? So the option is going to be 1 by 1000. It is nothing but 10 to the power of minus 3. Can I write like this, 10 to the power of minus 3? Yes, 1 by 1000 can be written as 10 to the power of minus 3. So the solution molarity is 10 to the power of minus 3, right? What about this? 9.8 sulfuric acid in water, 100 liters, each of 100 liters. This is also 100 liters. So if I take 9.8 here, right, and it is also going to 98. What is sulfuric acid molecular weight? 98. It is going to give the same molarity, 10 to the power of minus 3. And they are mixing 40 liters of sodium hydroxide and 10 liters of sulfuric acid, right? No problem. So they are asking what is the pH, right? What is the solution we are going to get? Yes, it is going to be formed a basic solution, basic buffer, a basic solution. We can say it as basic solution. So the solution is going to be basic in nature, right? Mixture of 40 liters of solution A and B and 10 liters of solution B gives 50 liters of solution. That means, so 40 liters, I am taking 40 liters into 10 to the power of minus 3, right, minus 10. So we are calculating pH, right? 10 to the power of minus 3 into 10 to the power of minus 3 into 2, right, by 50. How much solution they are making? 50. So it gives 20 by 50 into 10 to the power of minus 3, and it is nothing but OH. That is, what is it? OH is going to be, OH is going to give 2 by 5 into 10 to the power of minus 3. And POH, what is the POH formula? POH gives minus log OH minus, right? So if you know OH value, it is very easy to calculate. POH is equal to minus log 2 by 5 I have given 2 by 5 into 10 to the power minus 3 gives 3.397, and we know pH equal to 14 minus POH. pH equal to 14 minus POH. 14 minus POH. So 14 minus POH, what is the POH, right? It is giving 3.397. 14 minus 3.397 gives 10.603. 10.603. You can write 10.60, or even if you write 10.61 also, they are going to give correct answer. So the correct option is 10.60. There is no option. You have to write numerical. That means you have to type 10.06. And this section answers are not going to have any negative mark. So please answer all these 5 questions from this section: 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Right? This is the answer. Next, the number of chiral carbons in chloramphenicol is, so to answer this answer, you should know the chloramphenicol structure. What is the chloramphenicol? Yes. So the chloramphenicol structure I will write for you. The chloramphenicol structure, if you know the structure, you can give the answer very easily. So they are asking chiral centers. What is chiral center? In simple words, the carbon must have 4 different substituents. 4 different substituents. Here it will have hydroxy alcohol group, and here para will be nitro, para nitro, right? Para nitro. This is OH. Then here it is going to have alcohol. This is also alcohol, right? And here it is nothing but amine will be there. This amine is acylated with this dichloroethanol, dichloro acid, right? Dichloride. This is the structure. So you may confuse. No need to confuse. If I ask this, is this the chiral center? No. There will be one hydrogen here. So these two are chlorines. So this is not chiral center, right? Not chiral center. What about this? Yes, this is substitute. There will be one hydrogen here, right? So it is, this carbon is substituted with, this is one, suppose this is alcohol group, X alcohol group, and this is also, this side also is another group. This is hydrogen, this is nitrogen. So this is one chiral center. And what about this? Yes, this is also chiral center. It will also have hydrogen. All these 4 substituents are different. So this is second chiral center. Is there any other center chiral? If you speak about this, there it will have 2 hydrogens. Is it going to be chiral center? No, it is not going to be chiral center, because it is substituted with same 2 hydrogens. So 2 chiral centers are there in chloramphenicol. 2 chiral centers is correct option, students. You have to write like this, 2.00, right? Even if you write 2, it is going to be correct, but you are asked to write 2 decimal answer. 2.1 number followed by decimal answer. 2.00 is correct option, students. Next, for the reaction, yes, they have given a reaction. A liquid gives 2B of gas, and delta U is 2.1 kilocalories. Delta U is 2.1 kilocalories. Delta S is 20 kilocalories per kilocalories at 300 K. Hence delta G in kilocalories. This is also very important, since it is numerical based. The answer you have to write in a kilocalories, right? So we know that delta G equal to delta H minus T delta S. What is delta H? Yes, delta U plus delta Ng or T. Just substitute these values. Delta H equal to 2.1 into 10 to the power 3 plus 2 into 2, 300 gives rise to delta H equal to 33. Delta H equal to 33. Delta H equal to 3300 calories. So since we know delta H, delta G equal to delta H plus T delta S, delta H minus T delta S, 33 minus temperature. What is the temperature? 300. And what is the S? 20, right? 300 into 20, 3300 minus 300 into 20, 3 into 20, 6000. 3300 minus 6000 is going to give minus 2700, minus 2700 calories. Minus 2700 calories is nothing but minus 2 point, they are asking kilocalories, 2 point, what is the answer? 2.7 kilocalories. 2.7 kilocalories. This is very simple, students. If you know the equation, that is delta G equal to delta H plus delta H minus T delta S. And what is delta H? Delta H can be obtained from delta U, since it is given delta U plus delta NGRT. You are going to get minus 2.7 kilocalories. So the the answer is minus 2.70. Minus also is very important. Right, minus 2.70 is correct answer, students. Next, right, so off-life period. Right, during the nuclear explosion, one of the products is strontium-90 with off-life of 6.93 years. If 1 microgram of strontium-90 was absorbed in the bones of a newly born baby in place of calcium, okay, same group element, right, calcium, yes, second group element, calcium and strontium, how much time in years is required to reduce it by 90% if it is not lost metabolically? Off-life period they are asking. How to calculate? We know what is the right. So it is known that all the nuclear reactions follow first order kinetics, and we know that T equal to first order reaction, T equal to 2.303 by K log 10. Right, what is K? K can be obtained from the given off-life period. What is the given off-life period here? 6.93. From 6.93, T of equal to 0.693 by K, that is K equal to 0.693 by T of, that is K equal to 0.693 by 693 is going to be give 0.1. So K equal to be 0.1. K is going to be 0.1 if you know the K, and T equal to, yes, off-life period is T equal to 2.303, right, 2.303 divided by 0.1, that is K we got, and log 10, right, log 10 is 1, and 2.303 by 0.1 is going to be 23.03. So the answer is 23.03 is correct answer, students. 23.03, you will get 23.03 is 03, or you can write 00, and all are acceptable. 23.00, 0.1, 01, 02 and 03, all are correct answers. So it is advisable to give, if you get direct answer 23.03, yes, it is correct. Even if you write 23.00, it is going to be correct answer, student. Next, so it is very straightforward inorganic base and bond order question. Straight away you can answer this question. Chlorine reacts with hot and concentrated sodium hydroxide. So chlorine plus NaOH, chlorine plus NaOH reacts and produces compounds X and Y. Compound X gives white precipitate with silver nitrate solution. The average bond order between chlorine and oxygen atoms in Y is NaOH, chlorine plus NaOH. It is going to give, what are the compounds we will get? Sodium chloride, yes, sodium chloride we will get, and the compound is sodium hypochlorite, NaCl, NaClO3, sodium chloride, yes, not hypochlorite, NaClO3, right. Next, plus 3H2O, you will get this. Chlorine is balancing equation, 3 chlorines. Chlorine reacts with NaOH is 6 NaOH. It is going to give NaCl, 5 NaCl it will give, and this is X compound and this is Y compound, and X is going to, when it reacts with silver nitrate, it is going to form silver chloride. It is a precipitate, right. They are asking the average bond order between chlorine and oxygen. So chlorine and oxygen they are asking bond order. So what is this? ClO3. So this is how it will have ClO3 with sodium, right? So bond order can be calculated the total number of bonds. Yes, it is total numbers of bonds by number of atoms is bond order between chlorine and oxygen. So 5 by 3 is going to be give, what is the answer? 5 by 3, simple calculation, 1.67. So this negative charge is going to be moved among these 3 oxygens. So 5 bonds are there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 by 3 is going to give 1.67 is correct option, correct answer students. 1.67 is 1.66 or 1.67 you can write. Yes, 1.67 is correct answer students. 1.67 is correct answer students. Yes, once you finish all these question answers, yes, you can go back and check all the question answers whether you did correct or wrong. Yes, right? So you can check. Then once you feel all are done, straight away you can submit. And I have made all these question answers in a original question paper type, right? So once you answer all these question answers, straight away you can submit, right students? So what is the answer? So we have answer 10.60, all are answered. So once you answer all these 23.00, yes, we have answered all these answers. Once you answer all these answers, then you can straight away submit. I am submitting. Yes students, all these question papers are available, links in a book available at Amazon online stores, the Target JEE Mains Chemistry by Venus Academy, and the right students, you can buy that book where you will get all these links to practice on your own in your phone or mobile phone or computer or iPad or whatever may be the device. Yes, once you finish, you can submit this. This is the best way to practice all these question papers. Once you submit, you can view your score also. Yes, total 100 out of 100. Congratulations students, you got all question answers are correct. Yes, the answers also given in this question paper, and you will get all feedback also whether you did wrong or right. If you do wrong answer, yes, they will give a right answer. You will come to know the right answer also here. Yes, what about this? So fill in numerical based questions also you are going to do like this, and all are correct answers friends. Dear so today we are going to learn JEE Mains 2020 7th January Shift 2 paper. Let us see the questions. Question number 1. Within each pair of elements, fluorine and chloride, sulfur and selenium, and lithium and sodium, these are the pairs, these are halogens. Yes, these two are taken from same group. Sulfur and selenium same group, and lithium and sodium first group are taken respectively. The elements that release more energy upon an electron gain are. So what is known as electron gain energy? Yes, electron affinity. And what is the trend it follows? In a period it becomes more negative, moving from left to right. In a period, more negative. From left to right, when you move in a period, it becomes more negative. Whereas in a group, when you move from up to down, it becomes less negative. So based on this standard phenomena of electron affinity, the elements given here are fluorine and chlorine. Which is going to release more energy among fluorine and chlorine? Yes, chlorine. So among these two, chlorine is going to release more energy. Among sulfur and selenium, yes, it is sulfur is going to release more energy among sulfur and selenium, and lithium and sodium, it is going to be lithium. This is the correct answer, which is showing chlorine, sulfur and lithium, option 2. So choose option 2 is correct option. That is option 2 where we have to select. Yes, option 2 is correct option students. So this is electron affinity. Based on electron affinity, option 2 chlorine, sulfur and lithium are going to release more energy among fluorine and chlorine, sulfur and selenium, and lithium and sodium. So the option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, dear students, please subscribe my channel Venus Academy for more updates about JEE Mains, and don't forget to click on like button and bell button. Right, students, let us move. Next, question number 2. Identify the correct labels of A, B and C in the following graph from the options given below. Number of molecules. So the moment you see this graph, you must be able to compare this graph with Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution of gases. Yes, students, as per Maxwell distribution law, so the root mean square speed, that is RMS, velocity of root mean square speed, and most probable speed, that is MP, average speed, that is VAP. So there they have given 3 lines, so which is showing highest probability, that is A, followed by B, followed by C. So based on this Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution of law gases, so we know that, so what is most probable speed? Yes, is the speed at which distribution graph reaches its maximum. Maximum is, yes, so what is the maximum speed? Most probable speed is maximum. Most probable speed is maximum. A is first. Yes, so most probable, A is most probable. Okay, A is most probable. Here also A is most probable. Yes, next followed by B. What is B? Average speed. What is average speed? Average speed of molecule is the mean of all magnitudes of velocity and at which molecules of the given gas are moving. So this is average speed followed by average speed followed by root mean square speed. That means A, B, C. It follows like this. Most probable speed followed by most probable speed followed by average speed followed by root mean square speed. So the option number 1 is correct option, students. Next, yes, this is very basic question from organic chemistry. For the following reactions, yes, they have taken propyl bromide, N-propyl bromide, plus they are reacting with a base, and there is chance to undergo elimination as well as substitution reaction. Yes, students, we know substitution reaction takes place with weak, yes, substitution reaction takes place in presence of base. At the same time, elimination reaction also takes place with a base. So among these, when Z is when base is sodium ethoxide, for example, I have taken sodium ethoxide, this is sodium ethoxide Z, and this is sodium tertiary butoxide. These two are bases. So when I take sodium ethoxide, so which is more favorable? Yes, students, when I take sodium ethoxide, it favors substitution reaction. When I take sodium tertiary butoxide, it favors elimination reaction, because this tertiary butoxide is not going to be formed. It is not going to be formed here. It is not favorable. So tertiary butoxide, however, will not undergo substitution reaction. It always undergoes elimination reaction. So what are the options given here? Yes, Ks and Ke are respectively the rate constants for substitution and elimination, and mu equal to Ks by Ke. The correct option is Ks by substitution is more favorable for Ka. Yes, so A, mu A, which is mu A is more favorable, followed by Ke, elimination, so mu B. Yes, and elimination is more favorable when we take sodium tertiary butoxide compared to sodium ethoxide. So the option number 3 is correct option, students. Next, the ammonia released on quantitative reaction of 0.6 grams of urea with sodium hydroxide can be neutralized by, this is very basic question. Yes, let us see. So urea plus sodium hydroxide, what is urea? Yes, so the molecular weight of urea is 60. So how many molecules of sodium hydroxide required to react to urea? Yes, So 2 into 40, molecular weight of sodium hydroxide is 40, that means 80 grams. It is going to give 2 moles of ammonia. 2 moles of ammonia. 2 moles of ammonia. 2 ammonia. Ammonia is 15, molecular weight of ammonia is 15. Yes, so 2 moles of ammonia it is going to give are 30 grams. If I take 60 grams of urea, I am going to get 30 grams of ammonia. If I take 0.6 grams, so okay, 34, sorry, 34 grams. Yes, 17 into 17, 17 plus 17, 34 grams. So 0.6 grams, if I take 0.6 grams, I am going to get 0.34 grams, right? So 0.34 grams, or else I can say like this. If I take 0.1 mole, if I take 0.1 mole, I am going to get 0.2 moles of urea. If I take 0.1 mole, I am going to get 0.2 moles of ammonia. Dear students, so the equation is follows like this. Urea plus sodium hydroxide gives 2 moles of ammonia, or if I take 1 mole of urea, I am going to get 2 moles of ammonia. If I take 0.1 moles of urea, I am going to get 0.2 moles of ammonia, right? So to neutralize this 0.2 moles of ammonia, how many moles of HCl is required? Can be neutralized by, so HCl they have given how many moles? Yes, ammonia plus HCl gives rise to ammonium chloride, that is 1:1. For 0.2 moles of ammonia requires 0.2 moles of HCl. So it is clear. Then what is given here? Yes, 0.2. Yes, this is 0.2. 0.2 moles of 100 ml of 0.2 normal HCl is required. So the option number 4 is correct option, friends. It is very clear. For the upon the reaction of urea with sodium hydroxide, you will get 2 moles of ammonia. For the neutralization of these 2 moles of ammonia, we require 2 moles of HCl. Since we have taken 0.6 grams, that is 0.1 moles of urea, we are going to get 0.2 moles of ammonia. For the neutralization of 0.2 moles of ammonia, we require 0.2 moles of HCl. So the option number 4 is correct option, students. Next, the redox reaction among the following is redox. So redox in a equation, if oxidation and reduction takes place in a single reaction, that reaction is going to be said as redox reaction. Among the following: formation of ozone from atmospheric oxygen in the presence of sunlight. Oxygen to ozone, is it redox? No. Reaction of sodium hydroxide, sulfuric acid with sodium hydroxide, it is a neutralization reaction, so it is not a redox reaction. Combination of dinitrogen with dioxygen at 2000, dinitrogen, so dinitrogen is N2. Yes, what is the oxidation state? N2, 0. Oxygen, dioxygen, O2. What is the oxidation state of O2? It is 0. So it is forming combination of dinitrogen with dioxygen. What we are going to get? NO, N oxide, nitrogen oxide. Yes, 2 moles of nitrogen oxide. So what is the oxidation state of nitrogen oxide? Yes, N is +2, whereas oxygen is -2. That means from 0 to -2 of oxygen, 0 to +2 of nitrogen is taking place. That is reduction and oxidation in a same reaction is taking place. So the option number 3 is going to be correct option. What about option 4? Reaction of cobalt aqua complex with silver nitrate. Here also there is no question of redox reaction. So the option number 3 is correct option, students. Next. Yes, this is very straightforward question from organic chemistry. In the following reaction sequence, yes, what is the starting material? Paramethyl aniline. Yes. So this is upon acetylation using acetic anhydride gives A. The compound A upon reaction with bromine in acetic acid is going to give B. The major reaction sequence is, so it is very simple, friends. So what is acetic anhydride? You should know acetic anhydride. Acetylation of aniline can be done using acetic anhydride. This is acetic anhydride. This is acetic anhydride where acyl group is going to sit on aniline group or nitrogen group. So if I do direct bromination using para-methyl aniline, is it going to form with bromine? No friends, bromine is going to form salt with aniline. So the reaction is not going to take place. So to avoid that salt formation, we do first acylation of aniline. At the same time, the orientation of aniline is, yes, donating group. So orthopara, right. So to avoid that salt formation with bromine, we protect this aniline group with acetyl group. So this is acetic anhydride. So here we are going to form, so acyl cation will form and this will attack here and it is going to give NHCOCS3. So there will be minus acetic acid. In this reaction there will be minus acetic acid. That means in the first step the compound A is going to be acetanilide. Aniline upon reaction with acetic anhydride we will get acetanilide. So now acetanilide upon reaction with bromine and acetic acid, what we are going to get? Bromination reaction where it takes place. So this acetanilide orients towards incoming bromine towards ortho and para, whereas para position is already blocked with methyl. It is not going to be attacked here. The only leftover position is ortho position. Ortho, left or right, both is okay. Then what is there? This is left, but here it is given bromo here. Is it going to form benzylic bromination with bromine acetic acid? No friends, benzylic bromination takes place in bromosuccinimide, that is photochemical reaction, or N-bromosuccinimide takes place at benzylic bromination, whereas bromine acetic acid takes place aromatic bromination. So the aromatic bromination takes place at ortho or para. Para is blocked, so the leftover position is ortho. Among these, this is not correct. Acetyl group is not going to form here. Meta is not going to be formed. So it is going to be right, but this bromination is not going to form. The leftover is ortho-bromo 4-methyl acetanilide. Option number 1 is correct option, students. Option number 1 is correct option, friends. Next, yes, chromatography. A chromatography column packed with silica gel as stationary phase. So this is a chromatography. For your understanding, I am drawing chromatography. Right, stationary phase was used to separate a mixture of compounds consisting of benjanilide. They have taken 3 compounds, aniline and acetophenone. What are the compounds? Benjanilide. Let us say benjanilide. So just now we have prepared acetanilide. Now we are going to take benjanilide. So NH benjanilide. So direct I will write benzyl. Z group. So benjanilide I will write like this, BZ. And aniline. This is aniline. We know aniline compound. Aniline. Since it is aniline. And acetophenone. What is acetophenone? Like this. Acetophenone is it polar compound? No, it is not a polar compound. It is a ketone. It is going to be eluted first. Let us see how. So this is the mixture taken for the separation in column chromatography. So it's a rough diagram, don't worry. So all silica gel is here, right. Anyhow, so used to separate a mixture of compounds consisting of a benjanilide, aniline and acetophenone. When the column is eluted with a mixture of solvents, hexane and ethyl acetate, it is ethyl acetate, 80% of ethyl acetate in hexane. The sequence of obtained compounds is, what are the compounds they have taken? Benjanilide, aniline and acetophenone. Among these 3, which is more polar? Yes, this is more polar. Aniline is more polar. That means aniline will come later. It is going to come very last after all these compounds. So aniline, so they have taken all this mixture in this column, they loaded here. So when you are pouring this a mixture of this solvent here, so it is going to come first. Which is going to become here first? Yes, acetophenone. Acetophenone is non-polar. Non-polar compounds will be eluted first. So acetophenone. What is the acetophenone? It is C. So first C will come. This is acetophenone. C will come. followed by this is a polar aniline benzyl. This lone pair electrons are blocked. It is going to be not that polar, it is medium in polarity. So acetophenone followed by medium polar compound, that is benzyl compound, is going to be eluted. That is A compound A will be eluted, and last, and to elute this aniline you have to increase ethyl acetate concentration also, but it is given hexane and ethyl acetate. The first compound is going to be eluted, C followed by A followed by B. It is very simple, students, to understand. So it is silica gel column chromatography. This follows polarity. So based on polarity of the compounds, the non-polar compounds will be eluted first. That means among these three compounds, acetophenone is more non-polar, so it is going to be eluted first, C compound, then followed by benzyl, followed by aniline. So among these all four options, what is this? CAB. Option number 2 is correct option, students. So it follows polarity. At the same time, in another words, this is another way I can say like this also. This aniline is basic in nature, silica gel is acidic in nature. It binds to silica gel, it will not come that easily out. So whereas benzyl also is will bind to silica gel. Since silica gel is acidic in nature, benzyl is also basic in nature. It also binds and it comes very slowly out. Whereas acetophenone will not bind to silica gel, it comes easily. This is another way of explanation. But as far at this stage, it is better to understand by polarity. Acetophenone is non-polar. This comes first. So acetophenone followed by benzyl followed by aniline is correct option, students. Next, option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, question number 8. Which of the following statements is correct? So it is straight away they have given question from biomolecules. So if you know the gluconic acid can form cyclic acetal hemiacetal structure. If you know the gluconic acid structure, what is gluconic acid? Gluconic acid is a dicarboxylic acid. No, students, dicarboxylic, it is not dicarboxylic acid. Gluconic acid is a monocarboxylic acid obtained from partial oxidation of glucose. If you know the glucose structure, it is very easy to answer this. Gluconic acid is obtained by oxidation of glucose with nitric acid. Dear students, nitric acid is a strong oxidizing agent. It oxidizes all alcohol groups also. So this is not correct. Gluconic acid is a partial oxidation product of glucose. Yes, option number 4 is correct option, students. The statement is correct. Partial oxidation product of glucose. That means let us see the structure. So this is glucose, right? So this aldehyde group is going to be partial oxidized to carboxylic acid. Remaining all hydroxy groups will be intact. That is, glucose is converted to gluconic acid. For example, we can use bromine in water. To do this reaction, we need bromine in water. This converts partial oxidation to give gluconic acid. So the option number 4 is correct option, students. Next, the refining method used when the metal and the impurities have low and high melting temperatures respectively is. So vapor phase refining. So what is the mixture? The refining method used when the metal and the impurities have low and high melting. Impurities having high melting, right? So metal is low melting. How will you separate? So vapor phase refining, no, the impurities are very high impurities, high melting points, so it is not going to be formed vapor. Distillation used for liquids, solvents. So liquefaction, dear students, it is very easy. Take the metal which is having impurities, just melt it. So the whatever the compound gets as liquid is going to be your pure metal. So liquefaction method is correct option, students. Option number 3 is correct option, students. So zone refining, no. So vapor phasing, no. For metals, no. So liquefaction method, so the option number 3 is correct option, students. Next, the correct order of stability for the following alkoxides is. Stability of alkoxides depends on resonance stabilization. So based on the resonance stabilization structures, it is going to be stable or not, we can Say, so among these three, which is more resonance stabilized? Do you think this is going to be resonantly stabilized? Say yes or no. Suppose if I migrate, polarize this the anion to this, so which is going to be resonance stabilized? No, there is no resonance structure is possible here. What about this? Yes, it is possible. It is possible. Yes, it can move like this. So if I move this O minus to this O double bond O, and this double bond can form carbanion C minus. Yes, it is going to form C minus. But is it stable among O minus and C minus? Which is more stable? O minus is more stable. So resonance is possible, but this C minus or carbanion is not that favorable. Let us see compound C. Among these, yes. So if I polarize here, yes, so C double bond O is going to form, and since nitro group is highly minus I affecting group, it takes this double bond here and it is going to form O minus and O minus. Since it is O minus, here also it is, we are going to get O minus. It is highly stable. Let us see the resonance structure of this C. So what is going to be formed? This is O, right students? This is O, and we know nitrogen is going to form like this, right? So O minus, and this is O minus, O minus. So here is plus. So this is highly stable. So option number, this is C is more stable, followed by B, followed by A. CBA, CBA. Option number 2 is correct option, students. CBA. Option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, in the following reaction sequence, structure A and B respectively will be. It is a very straightforward question from organic chemistry. What they are asking is HBr. Yes, ether demethylation or ether delinkage. Ether can be cleaved by using strong acids, that is HBr in HBr. Upon heating, demethylation takes place, or this ether will be cleaved, and we are going to get here OH, and it is going to be formed bromine. Yes, CH2Br. CH2Br. What is the option? Bromine, HBr, heating ether. This is cyclic ether. So what we are going to get is OH followed by bromine. Since this bromine is here, here also it is bromine is here. So this option number A is correct with respect to this. So here also given this, but let us see next option. So what we are going to get? Sodium and ether. So Wood's reaction. What is going to be formed? Wood's reaction? Yes, sodium and ether, it is going to form cyclation will takes place. Among 6-membered and 5-membered, which is more favorable? Here 5-membered they have taken. 6-membered cyclation takes place. Since this is bromine is here, last carbon, and is there any going to be any rearrangement? No, students, there will be no rearrangement. So straight away we will get this bromo compound followed by cyclized compound of this. So the option number 1 is correct option, students. Next, the number of possible optical isomers for the complex M metal A2, B2 with sp3 and dsp2 hybridized metal atom respectively is. Note, A and B are unidentate neutral. Yes, students, unidentate monoanionic ligands respectively. To confuse you, they have given A unidentate neutral and B unidentate monoanionic. Don't worry, students. So sp3 is tetrahedral. If you want to get optical isomers, what we need? Metal should have all A, B, C, D. It should have A, B, C, D ligands, but they have taken A2 and B2. It is not going to give optical isomers. So what is the option? Yes, option number 1 showing 0 and 1. Is it going to give dsp2? No, students. So it also requires other compound, so it is not going to give dsp2, is not going to form optical isomers. Option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, among statements A to D, they have given statements A to D. The correct ones are, they are asking which is correct, right? Decomposition of hydrogen peroxide give dioxygen. Is it correct? Hydrogen peroxide? Yes, it is correct statement, right? Statement A is correct. Like hydrogen peroxide, compounds such as KClO3, lead nitride and sodium nitrate, when heated, liberates dioxygen. Yes, we will get oxygen. Yes, dioxygen is possible from all these three. So option number B statement also is correct. 2-ethyl anthraquinone is useful for the industrial preparation of hydrogen peroxide. Yes, we prepare hydrogen peroxide from 2-ethyl anthraquinone. So this is industrial method of preparing hydrogen peroxide. So the statement C also is correct. Hydrogen peroxide is used for the manufacture of sodium peroxide. Sodium perborate. Yes, sodium perborate is prepared from hydrogen peroxide. So all statements are correct, which is showing all statements A, B, C, D. Yes, option number 1 is correct option, students. That means all options are correct. Next, among the statements A to D, the incorrect ones are, yes, octahedral cobalt 3 complexes with strong field ligands have very high magnetic moments. Is it correct? No, it is incorrect statement. When delta O less than P, the d electron configuration of cobalt 3 in an octahedral complex is T4Eg E2G. Yes, it is correct statement. Wavelength of light absorbed by cobalt heme complex is lower than that of cobalt hexafluoride. Yes, it is correct. If the delta O for an octahedral complex of cobalt 3 is 18,000 centimeters, the delta T for its tetrahedral complex with the same ligand will be 16,000. 18,000, 16,000. No, that is like this. So 4 by 9 delta O, they are asking 4 by 9 by 18,000. So what we are going to get? So it will be cancelled. So 2,000 means 8,000, but they have given 16,000. 16,000 is not correct. So the option number statement D also is not correct. They are asking incorrect statements. A and D are incorrect. So the option number 3, A and D only are incorrect. So the option number 3 is correct option, students. Next, in the following reactions, products A and B respectively are sodium hydroxide upon reaction with chlorine gives A plus side products, calcium hydroxide plus chlorine gives side product. It is straightforward question from inorganic chemistry. What they are asking, sodium hydroxide chlorine, what we are going to get? Yes, students. Yes, NaCl. Let us write Na. NaClO3. NaClO3. So the option number NaClO3, yes, option 1 and 4 is showing NaClO3. What about calcium hydroxide with chlorine? Yes, it gives calcium hypochlorite, CaOCl. Taken twice. So the option number 4 is correct option, students. So straightforward, you can write the equation. So for balancing equation, we have to take 6 NaOH, hot and concentrated. So they are saying concentrated, so excess moles, and 5 chlorines here. Yes, and 2 Ca, SCA, OH2, and chlorine is going to be chlorine. And what are the other products here? Calcium chloride. Yes, we will get calcium chloride, CaCl2. Yes, friends. Then water. So this is what we are going to get. Right, students? Right. So the option number 4 is correct option, student. Next, 2 open beakers are containing a solvent and other containing a mixture of solvent with non-volatile solute. Solute is non-volatile, right? Solvent, and the other containing a mixture of that solvent with a non-volatile solute are together sealed in a container over time. So they have taken volatile solvent, any solvent. Yes, let us see, water, and non-volatile solute, non-volatile sodium chloride, let us say sodium chloride. So water and sodium chloride, non-volatile solute, are together sealed in a container. The volume of the solution and the solvent does not change. Is it so? No, the volume of the solutions increases. Yes, and the volume of the solvent decreases. So the option number 2 is correct option, students. The volume of the solution decreases and the volume of the solvent increases. No, the volume of the solution does not change. No, students, the volume of the solutions increases and the volume of the solvent decreases. So the option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, for the reaction, hydrogen and nitrogen oxide upon reaction gives nitrogen plus water. The observed rate expression is equal to KF take twice, and hydrogen, the rate expression for the reverse reaction is, yes, reverse. So what we are going to take, yes, hydrogen comes this by, so Kb, option number 3 is correct option, students. Kb(N2H2O), straight away you can write also. Yes, the bond order and the magnetic characteristics of cyanide or Cn minus are, what is the bond order of Cn minus? Yes, 3. Bond order is 3. All electrons are paired up. So when all electrons are paired up, it is going to be diamagnetic. So the bond order and the magnetic characteristics of cyanide Cn minus are 3 and diamagnetic. Since all are paired up, so it is going to be diamagnetic. Next, consider the following reactions. They have given, yes, Friedel-Crafts reaction, Friedel-Crafts alkylation reaction. Can we do Friedel-Crafts alkylation reaction using aryl halides? No, students. Aryl halides in Friedel-Crafts alkylation reaction, this must form electrophile. Chloro or halogen compound must form electrophile. Is it going to be formed like this? Phenyl carbocation, is it going to be formed? No, students. Phenyl carbocation is not going to be formed in this first reaction. It is not possible. Yes, chlorine excess, they are doing chlorination using anhydrous aluminum chloride. It seems to be, yes, anhydrous aluminum chloride chlorination can be done in dark. Yes, chlorination is possible on aromatic ring. Hexachlorobenzene is prepared by using chlorine excess in presence of aluminum chloride. B is possible. What about this C? Yes, same Friedel-Crafts alkylation they are going to do. Is going to be possible. Vinyl carbocation, it is vinyl carbocation. If I make carbocation here, it is going to be vinyl carbocation. Is it stable vinyl carbocation? Vinyl carbocation? No. So this is also not going to be formed. What about this? Benzene upon reaction with allyl chloride. Yes, anhydrous aluminum chloride gives allyl carbocation. This is highly stable. Allyl compounds are very easily prepared using this Friedel-Crafts alkylation reaction. So allyl chloride is highly stable. This gives allyl compound of this. So option A, option B and option D is going to be formed using anhydrous aluminum chloride. Which of these reactions are possible? So A and D, which is showing A and D. Yes, option number 1 is going to be correct option, students. B and D, B and D. Option number 2 is correct option, students. B and D. Option number 2 is correct option, students. Next, the equation that is incorrect is, it is very straightforward question from theory based. So they are taking sodium bromide and sodium iodide. They are going to get KBr. Sodium bromide? No, it should give iodide here. It should be, so exchange sodium and here potassium. Where they are going to get this potassium? We don't know, right? So it is, that is incorrect. This is incorrect. So what about this? Sodium bromide, sodium chloride, potassium bromide, potassium chloride. Yes, it is a balanced equation. So potassium and, right. So KCl, NaCl, KBr, NaBr. Yes, it is balanced. So if I take sodium hydroxide plus HCl, it is going to give water and NaCl. So they are written in a equation form. So among all these statements, option 1 is incorrect statement. So the option of 1 is correct option, students. So they are asking incorrect statement. This is, it should be iodide here, and there should be one potassium here. Since there is no potassium, this is potassium iodide. If it is Ki here, it is going to be correct, but they have given sodium bromide, it is not going to be correct. So the option number 1 is correct option, students. Next, consider the following reactions. Sodium chloride plus potassium dichromate in presence of strong concentrated sulfuric acid gives A plus side products. A plus sodium hydroxide, B side products. B plus sulfuric acid gives hydrogen peroxide, gives side product. The sum of the total number of atoms in one molecule each of A, B and C. So if you know the compounds what it is going to form, let us see. So the first compound here what we are going to get is CrO2Cl2, CrO2, right? And B is Na2CrO4, Na2, and C is CrO5, CrO5. They are asking the number of atoms. So in first one, how many are there? 1, 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 3 plus 2, 5. So first one is 5 atoms. And the second one, 2 plus 1, 3, 3 plus 4, 7. And the third one, 1 plus 5, 6. Total how many are there? Yes, 18. So the correct option is 18. Write down 18. Dear students, please attempt these questions. That is section 2, where there is no negative marking for answering these. Even if you answer wrong also, there is no negative marking. So please write all these 5 questions. Next, so the answer 18 is correct answer, students. Next, and it is suggested that please write two digits after this number, or 2 decimal number is required to answer these section 2 answers. 18.00. Though there is nothing, there is no, even though there is no number after dot or there is no decimal number, please write like this, 18.00. Computer is going to recognize this type of answers as correct. Yes. Next, the number of sp2 hybridized carbons present in aspartame. Aspartame, if you know the structure, it is very simple and straightforward. You can answer. Aspartame is a synthetic sugar which is do not have sugar, but it is sweeter than 200 times sweeter than your sugar. Yes. So what is aspartame? If you know the structure, yes, this is aspartame. Right, students? So they are asking sp2 hybridized. sp2 hybridized, straight away we can say this carbonyl compound is going to be sp2, and here this is carbonyl is sp2, this is also carbonyl sp2. So this chain is having 3 sp2 carbons, and we know that benzene ring is all carbons are sp2 hybridized. So benzene is going to have 6 sp2 hybridized carbons. Total how many are there? 9. Total there is 9 sp2 hybridized carbons are there. So option so the correct answer is 9. Dear students, if you know the structure of aspartame, it is very easy to say sp2 hybridized carbons. So the sp2 hybridized carbons are 9. Next, the flocculation value of HCl for arsenic sulfide solution is 30 millimole per liter. If sulfuric acid used for the flocculation of arsenic sulfide, the amount in grams of sulfuric acid in 250 ml required for the above purpose is, they have given molecular mass of sulfuric acid. Let us see. I have taken, yes. So they have given HCl required for 1 liter is 30 millimoles. Yes, 30 millimoles. Sulfuric acid required for 1 liter is 15 millimoles. How? Is used for the flocculation of arsenic sulfide, the amount in grams is, yes, and then sulfuric acid required for 250 ml is, we know that 250 ml into 15 by 1000 is 3.75 millimoles is required. We know that 1 mole is 1000 millimoles. 1000 millimoles sulfuric acid means 98 grams. Then 3.75 millimoles sulfuric acid is 3.75 into 98 by 1000 is nothing but 0.367. Yes, so the option answer 0.367 is correct answer, students. 0.367 or 0.36, you can write 0.36. Yes. Next, the standard heat formation delta F H298 at 0 of ethane in kilojoules per mole if the heat of combustion of ethane, hydrogen and graphite are minus 1560, minus 393.5 and minus 286 kilojoules per mole respectively is. Yes, let us see. So what they have given, the standard heat of formation of ethane. Let us calculate for ethane formation. So formation, standard heat of formation of ethane kilojoules per mole. So carbon plus hydrogen we will get ethane. So straightforward they have given. So how many carbons? Yes, 2 into, so carbon, graphite is carbon, so minus 286, graphite is minus 286 plus 3 into hydrogen. What is the heat of formation? Minus 393.5. so what we are going to get? Ethane. So minus 15.60. Just simplify this equation, you are going to get minus 192.50 kilojoules per mole. At the same way, yes, in the same way, the standard heat of combustion of ethane, yes, when you burn ethane in presence of oxygen, you are going to get carbon dioxide and water. So what is this? Yes, if you calculate in this way, you are going to get minus 85. Dear students, you can answer either minus 192.50 or minus 85 kilojoules per mole. These two answers are going to be correct for this question. So heat of formation of ethane in these two form is correct. Minus 192.50 or minus 85 is, both are correct for this question. Next, 3 grams of acetic acid is added to 250 ml of 0.1 m HCl and the solution made up to 500 ml. To 20 ml of this solution, 0.5 ml or 1/2 ml of 5 molar NaOH is added. The pH of the solution is, they are asking pH. Given pK of acetic acid 4.75 and molar mass of acetic acid 60 grams, we know log 3 equal to 0.4771. Neglect any changes in volume. Let us simplify. So millimoles of acetic acid in 20 ml is 2 millimoles. So how much they are going to have? 2 millimoles. So millimoles of HCl is 1 millimole they have taken. Millimoles of sodium hydroxide, this is 0.5 ml, right? So 2.5 ml, 5 moles, that is 2.5 millimoles they are taking. So when you do the equation, acetic acid plus sodium hydroxide gives rise to sodium acetate plus water. It is nothing but, so pH equal to pKa plus log 3/2/2, pH equal to pKa plus log 1/5 by 0.5. It is given that pK of acetic acid is 4.75 and log 3 equal to 0.4771. So substituting these values is 4.75 plus log 3 is nothing but 5.2271. So the option, so the answer 5.227 is correct answer, students. Dear students, once you finish all your question answers, you can, yes, dear students, please subscribe my channel Venus Academy for more updates about JEE Mains. Dear students, we have completed all question answers. Once you complete all question answers, you can go back and check your question answers. Let us see. So this is the question paper available online and this is mock test. And all these links are given in a book by Venus Academy Target JEE Mains 2020. So in that book you will get all the links to practice these mock tests or the tests in your computer or phone, same as your original test. It is best idea to practice this type of papers at your home, so that you will be familiar to practice all these tests at your main exam. So once you feel all question answers are done like this, yes students, you can, yes, all question answers. So I have given like this, so 0.36, yes. So once you feel all are done, you can submit, right? So here you can choose. Dear students, while choosing answers, please use mouse only, don't use keyboard. Once if you use arrows or keyboard for answering these type questions, it is going to be moved. For example, if I use arrows in keyboard, yes, so the answers are moving with when I use arrows of keyboard. So don't use arrows or any numbers during any alphabetical alphabetical keys of your keyboard. Use only mouse to choose correct and wrong answer. Choose correct answers, right? Once you finish your question paper, you can submit. Yes, students. Just now we have finished IIT JEE Mains 2020 January 7th shift 2 chemistry paper. Once you finish, yes, I am submitting. And there is an option to see your score also. Yes, submit. Let us see view score. Yes, students, congratulations, students. You got all question answers are correct. That is 100 out of 100. So let us see the answers. Yes. So this is option 2 is correct. Yes, all are shown here. Yes, correct answer is option 3, and you got +4 like this you will get. And when it comes to this numerical based question, yes, students, here it is given like this. So you had given 18, and the correct answers it is going to be recognized as, so feedback, correct answer is 18 to 18. For correct answer you will get +4 marks. For wrong answer, no marks. So this is the way they are going to calculate your question answers. Dear students, thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe my channel Venus Academy if you are not yet subscribed, and don't forget to click on like button and bell button. Bye. Sayonara. We will meet in next lecture of January JITE Shift 1 2020 JEE Mains paper very soon. Bye.